Hello and good morning. It's still morning. Thank you all for joining me. I hope this video finds you all healthy, happy, safe, and well. My name is Marjorie Phoenix. I am a creativity activist, and I work with survivors of abuse and those people that want to use their voice and their story to change the world, to make a difference in the world. And I do that through creative self-expression. I want to welcome you to today's teaching about the myth of the phoenix rising from the ashes, what I call the Order of the Phoenix, and share with you all about why I changed my name to Phoenix. Many people have asked me, they thought that I went back to my maiden name, Phoenix, and no, it's not. Let me just tell you a little bit about why I changed my name and what the significance of that is. Now, if you haven't watched Monday's teaching on the Order of the Phoenix, I invite you to go back and do that. It's a very short video where I share with you the story about the mythical creature of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And when I went through a difficult time in my life back in 2010, I was married to someone who was verbally, emotionally, and financially abusive. I was an upper middle class stay-at-home mom. My youngest child was 6 at the time. My oldest was 18 from another relationship, and she was a senior in high school. And at that time, I had decided that this marriage was toxic. It wasn't healthy. I could feel myself dying a slow death. And I had made a decision that I was going to leave. Now, this was going to be a difficult transition because, like I said, I was a stay-at-home mother. And so I had to put all of these things in place. So when I made that decision that I was going to leave, and this will help you all understand and answer that question for those of you that always ask, well, why don't they just leave? Well, this is one of the reasons why. A woman is more likely to be injured or killed when leaving an abusive relationship or marriage. Just look it up. And I, not really understanding the gravity of the situation that I was in, I said that I want out of this marriage. I've already found a job, a work-at-home job set up for me, done the interview and everything was set in place. I'm going to look for a little apartment over across on Flagler Beach. And we want to make this as, smooth a transition for the children. And I'm not asking for nothing other than for you to do what you're supposed to do for your child. I'm not trying to get the house. I don't want the house. I'm not trying to keep your child from you. Anyway, so I thought we had agreed to do that, but unbeknownst to me, he had decided to go and sit down and talk with an attorney about how to take the child from me and how to keep the house from me. So this morning in November in 2010, and there's a lot of backdrops, so you'd have to read my book to get all the backdrops leading up to that morning. But it came to a point where he had literally said to me, if something should happen to me, I have a mind to leave a note saying that you be held responsible. And this kicked off this back and forth of the verbal abuse again, calling me all sorts of names, accusing me of all sorts of things. And I could just feel myself just being like squeezed to death. And it triggered me, and I fought back by throwing a wedding album at him. The pictures went flying everywhere. It didn't hit him. The album hit the wall. He retreated into the restroom. And as I'm on the floor, tearing up the pictures, throwing them into the garbage and tears, right? He's in the bathroom calling the police. So the police show up, 2 officers. One takes him outside, takes his story. The other one's inside with me taking my story. And my girls are getting ready for school. My oldest is helping my little one get ready for school. So they take the stories. They're going to, take it to the DA's office. And I'm going to take the girls and get in the car and take them to school and go about my day. As I go into the garage to get into the car, I'm stopped by the officer. And he says to me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but your husband is adamant about pressing charges. My hands are tied. I have to take you in." My youngest is in the car seat, looking out at the window. My oldest is like, "What is going on?" Asking him, "Why are you doing this?" I'm being handcuffed. I am trying to contain myself and tell the girls everything is going to be okay. I'll be fine. The officer puts me in the back of the car and tells me, "You'll probably get there in time for first arraignments. You'll be out in a few hours." So I'm sitting in the back of this police car, claustrophobic, never been in handcuffs before. I can feel myself hyperventilating. And we drive to the police station. He gets me, and then, and he says to me, "I've seen this before." He's like, "This didn't have to come to this, but I've seen this. You guys are going to going through a divorce or something?" I said, "Yes." So he realizes what's happening. And so anyway, they take me in. They process me. And by the time as they process me, we realize that I've missed first appearance, and I'm staying in jail for 24 hours. Listen, guys, I thought that this is just where it was, like, this was it. Like, oh my God, like, this is the worst that could happen, right? But it wasn't. That was just the beginning of a journey for me. I spent 24 hours in jail. And just to, I'm not going to go through the entire story, but just so you know, after 24 hours in jail, I come out, find out I cannot go back to my home. All the money has been taken out of the bank accounts. A restraining order has been put against me. I have nowhere to go, no family nearby, and I'm basically homeless. This goes into almost a 2-year battle with him for joint custody of my child, to, just regain my life back and my dignity. And I share that in my book. Now, going back to Phoenix. Why Phoenix? I was going through some therapy. I was going through some of the recovery steps that I needed to. And someone told me about the story of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And they said to me, "Marjorie, that's you. You're rising out of the ashes of your life. That is a symbol of who you are." And I had never heard that story before. And as I sat with that, and as I read about the phoenix rising from the ashes, and I looked at all the different versions of that, they've even had a version of that in Christianity, and using Christ, right? The resurrection. And coming back after the third day and rising again. They use that as, part of the symbolism of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And through that, I discovered what it was that God was actually putting me through. I looked at the 3 orders of this and the 3 steps of this, and I saw myself as a phoenix. And so I took on the name, and I knew when I published my book, I was not going to use my married name. I used Phoenix. And as I began to work more through this process, and with the Phoenix, what I call the Phoenix process, I realized that all survivors are phoenixes. We can all change our name. And so I took that on as a part of who I am. And I put that into the teachings and some of the programs that I have done. And that's how I see my life. But here's the thing about the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's not a one-time process, guys. If you heard the story that I shared with you on Monday about the phoenix the bird lived a long life of 1,000 years, but it could never die, right? When you think about it, we never really die. We just transition, right? And so the bird had to go through another transformation and another process of rising through the ashes, of shedding. This burning, this shedding, this reclaiming, and this rising up. And this is something that we go through in our life. Almost every experience. We will always go through life where we will have to experience pain and trauma and loss. But it's always about how we handle it. How are we going to walk through it? And how are we going to rise above it? So I wanted to share with you all why I've taken on this name. And you're going to see over the next few weeks, we're going to talk more and more about what that phoenix process looks like for those of us that we have a story to tell. And we've gone through some of that metamorphosis, but now is a time for us to use our voice and to understand why we went through that process and what it is that we need to say to the world, what it is that we need to be doing in the world. What was that all about? There was a purpose behind the shedding, the burning, the rising up. And that's for each one of us. So continue to join me. I'll be back again tomorrow because I want to talk to you a little bit about a ceremony, a ritual that I did. And it was the burning ceremony of the belief systems, of the narrative, the old stories that I had about who I was. That is so much a part of that burning and shedding process that the phoenix had to go through, shedding that old self that you too also have to go through. So we'll go through some of that tomorrow, and I look forward to coming back and sharing more of that with you, okay? So thank you for joining me, guys. And like I always say, how I always end all of my broadcasts, go out and change the world. Bye-bye.